Some stories arrive like whispers and others arrive like lightning bolts. Either way, when a story grips you and won't let you go, it's not an accident. The story chose you, it already exists, and all it's doing is waiting for you to write it down. So it's your job as a writer to release this story word by word, chapter by chapter, until it's finally a book. When I'm asked how to write a book, should you outline or should you just start writing? I always say definitely outline your story first. You want to know the structure of your story. You want to know where to start. You want to know where it's going to end. You want to know where the major conflicts are going to be. However, how do I do it? Do I outline that way? Yes and no. I don't outline every chapter. I don't chart it all out. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in each chapter. But I also don't dive into a blank page. I have an idea of what's going to happen, and I do have a loose outline. So I fall somewhere in between. So how can I tell an author that they have to outline if I don't actually do that myself? So what I do say is have some type of outline, and then trust that the story is actually going to grow and it's going to develop because it's already there. It's already inside of you. You just have to start writing it. But of course, as a writing teacher, I can't just tell you that. I can't just tell you, just start writing and the story will develop, because students need more than that, right? So new writers need more than that. That's not very helpful if I just tell you, well, just open up your computer and start writing. I have to teach you some techniques. I have to give you some tools so that you can start writing. So I want to do both. I want to encourage you to write an outline and to know exactly where you're headed. But I also want to encourage you to kind of follow the story that's inside of you and not be trapped by an outline or feel caged in by an outline. So how do I teach you to actually trust yourself and just write? That's a lot harder to teach than how to write dialogue or how to structure a story. You can't just tell you just sit and write, right? So my question is, how do I teach you that? So that's what I'm going to try to do today. I'm going to try to teach you the way that I do it. So let's get started. You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world. Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. If we are just meeting, I'm Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author. I love to tell stories. I love to teach. And that's why I create these videos. So first of all, I want you to remember that this story chose you. Now, I'd written a blog about this and somebody said, well, this is brilliant. And it's like, well, yes, it is brilliant, but it's not me being brilliant. Many people have said this before. Elizabeth Gilbert said this in Big Magic. Rick Rubin has also said something similar. When a story comes to you, it's that you're trying to explore something. There's something inside of you that you are interested in exploring that you want to know more about. It's usually a message that you're going to deliver in your own unique way. Nobody else can write this exactly the same way that you're going to write it. And so it's for that reason that this story chose you. It may come to you as a character's voice. It may come to you as a question that just won't leave you alone. It could be a scene that's playing in your mind over and over again. It could feel like a dream, but it's something that has come to you and that you need to listen to and you need to develop. So let's talk about that first, following that thread. You don't need to know everything at first, right? If it's just a character that is coming to you or a scene, then go with that. You may only have a sense of this protagonist. You don't really know why this character is bothering you late at night. But just start with the character if that's what comes to you first. If it's a scene, then write down that scene. If it's a world that seems interesting and you're thinking, wow, this would make an interesting world, then start sketching out that world and what are the laws, what are the rules of this world. You might start with like creating a map and writing down the landmarks of this world. And eventually you'll kind of get an idea of what it looks like, what's there, and then you can start populating it with people and think of a story to go with it. And if it's a character that has come to you, then start writing who this person is. What do they want? What are their challenges? What is their backstory? Where are they in the world at this point? What are their problems? So start developing this character who has come and who is speaking to you. And from there, you can start to create your chapters. And of course, the chapters are going to be little stepping stones, right? Each chapter is taking taking you to the next part of the story. And your characters are going to enter this world. Your characters are going to enter the problem that you've given them according to who they are, according to who they've come to you as. And of course, once they're on your page, they're going to start to come alive. And the story's going to develop more organically, kind of like you're excavating, right? The story a little bit at a time than if you just try to sit and just outline an entire story when you really don't, when you're really not familiar with it yet. So I think the trick is to think of writing as a discovery. Think of yourself as the author, the archaeologist who is digging up the story. The story is built in there, right? It's in that in your mind you have just this, the story is buried in that soil of your imagination, and it's up to you to dig through all the mess, or everything that's not the story, right? This is what sculptors do. They take away everything that's not the sculpture, and then they discover what's inside. And that's the same thing that you're doing as a writer. You're taking away everything that is not the story, and you're focusing on what the story is. And sometimes the fun part of doing this is that you'll discover something interesting, right? If we just know who the character is, that character's talking to us, and we start exploring a little bit more about, well, who is this person? What was their backstory? And why, what is it that they want? You might discover something completely interesting. And that's great. That's what we want. We want the surprise. We want the treasure, because if it's surprising us, it's going to make it more interesting for the reader. And it's also nice because it gives us a little bit of freedom. We're not rigidly following an outline that we thought would make a good story, but really doesn't make a good story, right? So once we start to just discover what the character wants, we discover like why is it that this scene was important to us, then it's not a bunch of random stuff. It actually starts to make sense. So I'll give you an example. In a book that I'm writing now, I have a character who loves trivia. Now, I didn't really know why he did. I was just writing a scene and he came up with some trivia, and then later on he came up with some more trivia, and I thought, oh, okay, well, this is a trivia guy. Why? I have no idea. Like, why is this character interested in random trivia? It seemed like a weird quirk that he had, and I just went ahead and just went with it. And then it was interesting because I was listening to somebody talk about facts and the importance of facts. And I realized that there was a reason that facts were important to this character, and that later on he was going to inspire another character by sharing his ideas of why facts are important. So it actually ended up fitting great into my story, even though I didn't outline this. I didn't say create a character with a quirk that he enjoys facts. I wouldn't have ever thought of that. But as I was writing it, this is just what came out. So it was something that I discovered. It was something that I dug up and I was surprised by. I didn't really understand it. I went ahead and let it stay in the story, and then it became useful later. So you might be thinking that, well, okay, if I just sit down and write and I just let discovery happen, what's going to happen actually is it's going to be chaos. And I totally get it. This is why I usually say don't write without an outline, because that's what happens, right? You get complete chaos. And that's not a novel. Chaos is not a novel. And also, novel writing is not just free writing. That's for journal writing. That's not for a novel. A novel has to have some structure. You have to have a plan. And this is why the way I do it now is, no, I don't have my entire outline, but I do have some structure. I do know, let's say that a character came to me and I started just to discover who this character was before I even wrote the story. That's all my pre-writing stage, right? I'm writing down things about the character, all the information that I know, and all the things that I ask the character, and I discover who this person is. But once I have that and I understand, like, what does this character want? Okay, well, if this is what the character wants, and this is going to be my goal for the character in the story, I know that this character can't have that right away. What's going to stand in this character's way? And I start to, of course, build that. So that becomes my outline. Now that I know who the character is, I know what they want, I know what the obstacles that are going to be in their way, I know what they're finally going to get at the end, because whatever the character wants at the beginning of the story, hopefully, if it's going to be a positive story, they're going to get that at the end. But how are they going to get it? How are they going to struggle to get it? How are they going to earn that at the end of the story? And I start to build some of the scenes based on that. So again, I started with nothing, right? I started with this character that was talking to me. Same thing could be with a scene. So a scene comes to me. Well, where is it coming from? Why are these people in the scene? Why is this scene important in the overall structure of the book? So you want to have some key points, some reversals, some obstacles. And what this becomes is your safety net. So now I know that I have some structure. I'm not just going to go off into, it's not going to be pure chaos. I'm not writing just anything. I am writing something that does have some structure, and I can tell if I'm really going off. Now, it's okay if I can add, the character has this weird trivia thing. I can let that stay in there. Now, if a character just completely decides to move and go to a different country, I know, okay, now this isn't part of my story. I don't know what's happening here, but it's not part of this story. And I can kind of bring that back. So hopefully what you're seeing is that there's a balance between outlining and having some structure for your story and having the freedom to trust yourself and go with wherever the story wants to go, wherever the character wants to go. So can I teach you to trust yourself? I probably can't, but I don't really have to. I can tell you, just try it, right? It works for me. And if you trust yourself, your story, and the process, it's going to work for you too. What you want to remember is that the story came to you for a reason. There's something important in there. There's something that you want to tell that only you can tell. So it's going to reflect your questions. It's going to reflect your passion. It's going to reflect the unique way that you see the world, which means that your story will have your voice and therefore it's going to be perfect. By writing it, you're not only going to be entertaining your readers, but you're also going to be discovering something about yourself in the process. Your job is to uncover this one chapter at a time and write every scene like you're just brushing away things that don't belong in there and focusing on the things that do. So the next time that something comes to you, an idea, a character, a scene, a world, write it down, go with that. That's where your story is going to start, and that's where the story is going to develop. If you sit down to just write an outline and you have no idea what you're going to write yet, maybe just wait a little bit. Start thinking, what things are important to me? What do I want to talk about? What is consuming my attention right now in the world, in my life? And see if something comes from that. The key is that you have to listen and you have to pay attention to yourself and to the voices that may show up either in a dream or just randomly while you're doing something like taking a shower. And I think if you do that, you're going to discover more stories that are coming from inside your soul. And you're also going to have an easier time writing and not worry so much on whether you are a plotter or a pantser, whether you need to outline or whether you just need to open up a blank page, because you'll be doing a combination of those. And I hope this helps you, inspires you, and that you've enjoyed the video. And if you have, of course, please like the video. Please leave me a comment or a message. And please return next Friday for my next video.